Welcome to Sober Mentum Today, where we talk about middle-of-the-road drinking and how trying on an alcohol-free lifestyle might just help you show up as a better version of yourself for your life, your loved ones, and everything that matters to you most. I am your host, Morgan Smith. Today's topic is why your attempts to take a break from drinking have failed, the 4 headwinds that are working against you, and how you can overcome each of them. But before we get started, I'd like to offer you a helpful tool. If you're questioning your drinking, which can be a very healthy thing to do, by the way, or wondering whether you should consider cutting back, you can find out exactly where you stand on the alcohol drinker spectrum. Just click on the link in the description box below, and you can download the free info guide. Now, on to today's topic. All right, so if your drinking habit has slowly evolved and sort of exceeded what you're comfortable with over the course of time, and perhaps your glass of wine or 2 a night has become half the bottle or maybe even the entire bottle, you may have considered taking a break from your drinking, an extended period of time off. And first of all, if that's you, number one, don't feel bad. You are not alone by any stretch. There are millions and millions of people around the world in this sort of middle-of-the-road drinking category that are above beyond social drinking, but well below sort of, alcoholic territory. And so if you've tried to take a break, first of all, whether that break was successful or not, I just want to say congratulations, because that's a sign that you're sort of heeding that inner voice of self-preservation that's warning you that, hey, this is moving beyond something that's healthy territory, and we need to do something about it. We need to intervene. And so if you've tried taking a break and it hasn't stuck, maybe you set a goal for yourself of 30 days or 60 days, 90 days, whatever, a year, whatever it was. If you stumbled and, backslid, went back to drinking, well, again, you're also not alone. This is actually very common. And I went through this dozens of times over a period of several years before I could finally get it to stick. And so in sort of analyzing this and looking back, and actually now work with people as a coach, helping them through this process myself, I see that there's about 4 different sort of headwinds that you're going to face. And understanding them, sort of understanding the nuances of each of these 4 and how they work, and some key ways that you can overcome them, I think will set you up to have a much higher probability of success with your own attempt to take a break from drinking. So let's get into each of these 4. But before we cover the 4 different headwinds that you're going to encounter on your break from drinking, I'd like to just stipulate up front that the linchpin that is required to create and sustain an ongoing break from drinking, or I call it a sober vacation, vacation from your drinking habit, is a thorough mind shift, really a complete and total mind shift about and really away from drinking. Your beliefs, your assumptions, your attitudes, your sort of subconscious, some triggers related to this habit, these all need to be shifted away from where they are today. And the good news is it's totally possible. Okay, lots of people have done it. And the other good sort of, aspect of this is to just realize that you've already had one mind shift with respect to drinking. And that mind shift that you've already had is toward drinking, because nobody comes out of the womb with a drinking habit. None of us did. And presumably the majority of your early years, childhood and through adolescence, you also did not have a drinking habit. So you may have dabbled with alcohol in your teen years, but more than likely it didn't actually become a habit that was sort of deeply rooted into your routine and your lifestyle and your thinking and your beliefs until adulthood. So that mind shift happened for you. It happened over probably a long period of time, and it can absolutely unhappen. It can absolutely be, you can unwind it. It takes some time. It's not something that's just the snap of fingers. But the good news is it can absolutely happen for you. But that's really the goal. And if you've tried breaks from drinking and they haven't succeeded or has gone as long as you wanted them to, then all that means is that you sort of had the beginning spark of a mind shift that's necessary, right? Otherwise you wouldn't even bother trying to take a break. But it was an incomplete. The mind shift was not sufficient to keep you on track. So these 4 headwinds that you're going to face are going to be obstacles that are going to challenge the progress of your mind shift. And I'm going to offer you some guidance, as having gone through this myself and on a daily basis work with other folks who are going through it themselves, offer you some input and some thoughts on how you can make it stick for yourself. All right, so let's get into it. So the first of the 4 different headwinds or obstacles that you're going to have to work through as you strive to take an extended break from drinking is your conscious mind. Okay, and before I start getting into the details of that, I'm going to put an infographic on the screen. And if you happen to be listening to this in a podcast format, then I'll do my best to describe, what we're looking at here. But essentially, I think it's important to us to first define our terms. And so this infographic is sort of the side view of a person's, head. And at the very top, let's say the top 10-ish percent is the conscious mind. Okay, and then there's some dots going across, and then below that, the other 90%-ish is the subconscious mind. And first of all, please forgive the spelling boo-boos on this. I found this on Google, and I really loved the graphic, but yeah, there's a couple spelling errors in there. And by the way, each of the infographics that I use in today's episode are linked into the description box below. I want to give credit and attribution to these sources. But as you can see up here with conscious mind, this is abstract thinking. It's awareness of past and future. It's short-term thinking. It's the part of us that's self-aware. It is the part of us that is sort of the entry point for learning, the entry point for information that comes into our mind. And you can see here processing information at 40 bits per second. Now, this is in contrast to the very massive subconscious mind that's below our awareness level, which is, as you can see, this is where habits and patterns reside, relationship patterns, involuntary bodily functions, our 5 senses, long-term memory, and 40 million bits of information processed per second. So you can just see that this is, up top, it's like a puddle in contrast to an ocean. I mean, the power, the processing power and the storage power of the subconscious mind is just massive. Okay, and not surprisingly, that is one of the 4 headwinds that we're going to be talking about. All right, so now that we've sort of defined our terms, let's speak a little bit about your conscious mind. So in order for you to even think about or consider or try to take a break from drinking, it means your conscious mind has already, to some small degree, embraced the idea that you need to step away from your drinking habit. Your drinking habit has evolved to a point at which you have become, at least to some degree, uncomfortable with it, even if temporarily. And so you've decided that I'm gonna step back and however you want to spin it to yourself, you recognize that a break is in order. So the sort of first domino in this process begins in your conscious mind. Your conscious mind really is the first domino. Okay? However, with that said, it's a little bit of a yin and yang, because there's part of your conscious mind that knows this is a good idea, but there's the other part of your conscious mind that's sort of going to be in a tug of war with that part of you that wants to take a break. It is not, that other part is still in the old habits. It does not yet want to take a break. It is not completely on board with this. It still thinks that alcohol is wonderful, and it still believes that alcohol is what we do when we want to relax, when we want to socialize, when we want to de-stress, or what have you. Whatever you've programmed into your conscious mind over the years about your drinking habit and about what alcohol does for you, those beliefs are still there. It's just that now those beliefs or they have competition. They have competition from this other side of you, this voice of self-preservation that's speaking up saying, hey, this is getting a little out of hand. We need to rein this in. All right? And it's hard to accept new beliefs. This is a pattern more than likely that has existed in your life for probably several years, and for some of you, maybe even decades. So it's not something that's quick and easy to sort of pave over with new beliefs. But the spark has to happen there. And so how do you win? How do you win over the conscious mind? Okay, well, first and foremost, you want to establish a new routine of taking in new information. Okay, you have all this old information already in your conscious mind about drinking, what you believe it does for you. But what you need to do is nurture this new sort of spark, this voice of self-preservation. You need to give that a boost, and you need to help it cultivate and sort of peel back the layers of the onion or shine the spotlight on my drinking habit. Is it really doing everything for me that I think it is? And how can you do that? Well, you establish a routine of taking in new pro-sobriety information that is going to counter and call into question some of your previously held beliefs. And you can do this through reading books. Okay, there's plenty of books out there. Just go on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever your favorite bookseller is and take a look around. There's some bestsellers out there that are totally pro-sobriety that you can begin to absorb a different perspective on this topic that maybe you haven't considered thus far. The same can be done with podcasts. There's lots of good podcasts out there. The show I'd like to think is one of them. And you can also look at other YouTube channels out there. You can join different Facebook groups that are, or other online communities that are, all about either temporarily taking a break from drinking or doing so long term for good. But the point is, you have to nurture this new voice that's questioning your drinking, because if you don't, you'll sort of never get past first base with this. You will just fall right back into the old patterns and the old habits. So that's sort of the first strategy that you can use to win over your conscious mind. And I would do this. I would just carve out a certain amount of time each day. Maybe you do it first thing in the morning. Maybe you do it first thing in the morning and, at lunchtime, again in the afternoon. But commit some amount of time to this. And I recognize that this is going to be sort of a departure from the norm for you, but the norm isn't really working for you, right? So you're going to have to break out of the comfort zone, the uncomfortable comfort zone that your drinking has become, if you want to make any sort of progress with this habit. All right, the second area where you can sort of overcome the tendencies of your conscious mind is by making some, at least in the beginning, some temporary changes to your routine. And what do I mean by that? Well, there are going to be elements of your routine, whether that's every single day, whether that's certain days of the week, whether that's every weekend. There are certain aspects of the cadence of your life that involve triggers to drink. And so that might be a certain time of day. Okay, I used to drink generally when I would finish up work at the end of each day, whether that was 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever it was. That was sort of the circadian rhythm of my drinking habit. So I'd start thinking about drinking around that time of day. If you're someone who maybe keeps it to the weekends and you hit it hard Friday through Sunday, it may be Friday afternoon that you start thinking about it. So that's a time trigger. There can be places that you go where you drink. It could be a bar, it could be a pub, it could be a restaurant that you go to, with your spouse every Saturday night or something. It could be Just any place, a bowling alley where you play on a bowling team. It could be golf, like whatever these places are where you always drink when you're there. Those are also going to pose some triggers. There could be people that are also triggers. Certain friends that you associate with, certain coworkers where you always drink together. So those times and places and people and events can all pose triggers. And if you want to make your break from drinking a success, I'd highly recommend, at least in the beginning, that you do your best to sort of either remove some of these triggers altogether, meaning there's certain people you just maybe don't hang out with them for a while, certain places that you just don't go for a while. If you're trying to take a break from drinking and you and your friends normally all hang out at the bar or at the pub, just don't do that for a little while, okay? Is that going to be a little bit disruptive to your social life? Yes. But that's the price tag. And there is a price tag to this process, but there's also a price tag to your drinking, isn't there? Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to do this. So, again, that sort of disrupting those that routine, the routine that you're used to doing. Now, when it comes to a time of day, well, the time of day, the clock is going to tick forward regardless. You can't change or stop that time of day from happening. But what you can do is kind of change the scenery a little bit, sort of mix things up, scramble up the scenery so that your brain is going to not be as much sort of looking for the drink. I mean, if your norm is that you get off work and then you drive home, and on the way home you stop at the liquor store or the grocery store, figure out something different. Figure out a way to scramble that up. Take a different route home when you drive home, or if you already work from home and you're used to cracking open your first can of beer at 5 p.m., going in the kitchen and grabbing it out of the fridge at 4:30 or 4:45, when you finish it, go for a walk. Okay, go for a walk. Or drive yourself out to the mall, or go to, Home Depot or something. Go to Costco, or maybe not Costco because they sell alcohol there. That's probably not the best. But the point is, you want to scramble up your routine just enough to try to take your mind off of that and kind of diminish the power and influence of what can become a craving, because your body is expecting this, alcohol to happen at this time or in this place or with these people. Okay, so that's the first of the four, your conscious mind.